Yep, that would be the gloves and the earmuffs. So it means I don't have to stay in the house the rest of the winter. And where were they? Well, they were right where they were supposed to be. But for some reason, I didn't see them. So I've had some questions about how we plan for meals around here. Basically, whenever I've run out of my last collection of recipes and things to make, I settle down and plan about 7 to 8 days going forward. It's not a lot of work because when there's only two of you, you get 2 or 3 meals out of anything you make. So it's not that big and agonizing of a deal. And in fact, I've been having a lot of fun with it as I've been collecting a lot of new recipes, mostly paleo, low fat, low carb, diabetic, just because it automatically cuts out some of the things that we shouldn't be eating anyway. Although I say that, and the snack that I'm baking today does have sugar and white flour in it, so don't quote me on that. Anyway, I settle down with all of my recipes and I just go through them and I come up with a recipe list for the week, including the side dishes I want to make to go with each of our meals. Since I don't really like canned or frozen vegetables much anymore, once you go fresh, you just have a hard time dealing with things that are processed in any way. Even including the frozen vegetables to me. Oh, I use them, but I don't use them very much anymore. So my list for the week includes the meals and the side dishes and then the things I plan on baking. The baking is because the hubs would actually like to go out every night for dinner, and where we live in the off season, it's actually cheaper to go out to dinner than it is to cook because resort restaurants are desperate to get people in the off season. And the off season is anywhere from October, late October, through April. So you get buy one get one frees and a lot of reduced meal fees. So it's tempting to go out. It certainly makes it easy to go out, but the truth is, I noticed we weren't making the best choices, so it was time to get things under control. And it's winter time, and what better thing to do than to hang in your own kitchen? So I come up with a list of what I'm going to have, and then I have also on the computer a template that I use to make my grocery list and print it off. So we're talking a few minutes is all it takes to create recipes. That web not the website that I use for the Greystone Path. It's my personal website, a free WordPress site. Although now that I see everything you can do with a free WordPress site, I kind of regret that I'm paying for the domain name for Greystone Path and maintaining that as a paid site. Anyway, you learn as you go, I suppose. Highly recommend WordPress sites. There's so much you can do with them. But anyway, my WordPress site for my personal journey. I titled it Mirth and Reverence, Living on the Edge of What Might Be, and you're looking at a screenshot for it. Right now, what's on it is about Mirth and Reverence, a section called Food, Glorious Food, which is going to be where I collect my recipes for sharing and also just for categorizing them for myself. The only thing there so far is the beef main dish recipes. And I'll be adding all the rest of them as time goes by. That'll get put on my one little thing list as time goes by. And there's also Annie's blog. Annie's blog is meant to be not just about food, although food and my relationship to it and how I deal with it is part of my blogging, but there'll also be personal blogging done there. It's not going to be a pagan specific website. It's shared with all of my friends, but it'll certainly include my experiences of living the wheel and what I honor in a year's time, so it's going to show up. But it's more about that day-to-day vlogging, blogging, I should say, complement to my vlogging experience. So under Annie's blog, you'll see what I'm writing about when it comes to recipes that I try and report in on them. And there'll be more of a variety of things there as time goes by. And then I print out the recipes for that I'm going to use during that period of time. These things stay on my kitchen counter so that I can check the night before to make sure I've taken the appropriate things out of the freezer and check in the morning to see how much time I have to spend on each thing so I don't cut myself short time-wise. So that's the system that works for me. I'm not somebody who likes to take my laptop into the kitchen, so I'm still working with paper. So maybe I'm printing out a little bit too much in the way of paper, but because I don't keep this paper after I printed it out. I don't really keep paper records for things anymore. But I still don't want my computer in the kitchen. Maybe if I had a desk in the kitchen, I'd feel differently. I don't know. That's something that I'm finding a bit of a quirk about myself. So I wanted to share about naming this vlog. I'm not somebody who's good at naming things. All my dogs and cats have had the most bland of names. God forbid if I'd had children, the goofy names I probably would have given them. But you want your vlog to have a name that means something to you. There's no doubt about that. So since my vlogging was inspired in great part by Jackie Dubois' work in vlogging, although I do not aspire to create such beautiful vlogs as she does. And I have to mention it was additionally inspired by my friend Teresa's vlogs that she's doing now. Just as a reinforcement of Jackie's sharing with us her thoughts on the sacredness of every little moment. And then there's the vlogs that Janet Herblove has been doing, which have inspired me too. Well, I guess it's safe to say that I am the result of a lot of beautiful vloggers out there. I originally thought one little thing, and then I thought, nah, I want to put a personal touch on that. So I came up with the idea of patchwork minutes. I like that because I'm all about textiles and the beauty of patchwork. And really, when it comes down to it, aren't all of our lives nothing more than a crazy quilt? That didn't quite feel right, though. I thought about using Tiny Moments by the Bay, but since that's what I use for my pictures that I snap during a day's time, it seemed like I was stealing something that already existed. I thought about minute by minute. That would be a good one. It's along the theme of one little thing, 1 minute following on another thing. But that felt more like the sands of time just flowing through and kind of disappearing. Well, not that that's not true, but it wasn't the energy that I felt like capturing. I almost went with time after time. Yeah, and I really was thinking of time after time. Do you know Cyndi Lauper is 62 now? I'm not going to call her old because that's the same age as I am. I was a big Cyndi fan. I was never a Madonna fan. Madonna always felt, with all due respect to Madonna and those who adore her, a bit of pose and gavotte. Cyndi always seemed like the real deal to me. Freeze Frame was my runner up because I kind of ended up going in the direction that I wanted it to connect it to somehow to the fact that it's on the computer. And then, for a while, I'd settled on Witching the Day Away. It was almost named that. But then I stopped to think that whenever I put witch or Wiccan or any form of those words in the title of my videos, they get watched more than the others, which you might think would be a good thing, but for a vlog, not quite. Well, that's not what it's about. You're not coming to my vlog because I'm a witch. So I debated this in my head because the things that we title our videos certainly can increase our viewership, but I wasn't really interested in increasing my viewership with the vlogging videos because the only people who are going to be interested in them are folks who have, well, come to enjoy spending some time with me. Plus, the more I said to myself, witching the day away, witching the day away, it started sounding like wishing the day away. So, that's how we ended up coming down to Bits and Bytes vlog. The tiny moments of the day that add up, the one little thing after the next little thing, and bites. The way we get to know each other here online with the small little capturings of who we are shared on the internet. So I think I distracted myself earlier when I talked about meal planning because I meant to mention why I make sweet things. I mentioned that the Hubs likes to go out to dinner. It's not because he doesn't like my cooking. He loves my cooking. It is because he gets a little tired of being in the house in the winter time. With his COPD, he doesn't breathe all that well in the very, very cold weather, so he gets to feeling a little housebound. And going out to dinner means getting out of the house. So, anyway, to lure him into being very comfortable being at home, if I make a nice meal and he has the promise of a sweet as the night goes by, which he doesn't get that sweet if we go out to dinner, he's much more content to be at home in the evening. I meant to mention that when I was talking about going out to dinner versus cooking at home. So today I baked nutty carrot cake bars. The recipe, of course, is on my Mirth and Reverence website, and I have a link to that website below. I got this off of the Diabetic Living website. It does have refined flour and it does have sugar in it. So you'll have to decide how healthy it is or is not for you. It's all-purpose flour and wheat flour with either half a cup of sugar or a sugar substitute. In this house, we don't use sugar substitutes. Pumpkin pie spice and baking powder and salt and some finely shredded carrot. And there's chopped walnuts in it and then also on top of it. And of course, it gets some egg whites and some cooking oil and some milk. And then it has this really neat topping, which is frozen light whipped topping. And yeah, I'm using the light for that. Not such a good thing to buy any of those reduced sugar, reduced fat commercial products, but it'll give Hubs the taste of something sweet. You mix that with some Neufchâtel cream cheese and some low-fat vanilla yogurt, and yeah, again, the low-fat. Although I think I didn't buy the low-fat. No, of course I didn't. I bought the regular vanilla yogurt. So the whipped topping, the Neufchâtel, and the yogurt make the top for this. It sounds like it'll turn out really good. One of the things we first discovered when we were getting to know each other online, that's how me and the Hubs met, is that our favorite cake for both of us is carrot cake. So I'm trying to give him a little bit of a taste of that, but keep it to a reasonable calorie and fat level. And of course, he won't be getting a big piece. This cake will, these bars will be cut up into rather small bars to space them out over several days going forward. Dinner tonight is another recipe I found on a diabetic website called pork chop casserole. Basically, it's kind of a Dijon onion mushroomy sauce over pork chops. And I'll share the recipe on my website, which of course will again be linked below. And we tend to focus on, and with apologies to those of you who like to watch my vlogs but really would rather I wasn't talking about meat, but yeah, there's meat in this household. Actually, I was vegan before I was diagnosed with lupus, and the truth is, and that's just the way it is, I am much better when it comes to lupus symptoms if there's meat in my diet. My recipes and cooking and planning our meals and the fact that they have made us so much healthier because of shifting we have made in the last couple of years, it's a part of my life. It's part of who I am. So the pork chop casserole recipe. It turned out really yummy. And our side dish to go with our Dijon onion pork loins is peas and onions. I'm always looking for different things to do with vegetables. This particular one is with frozen peas. Frozen peas are one of the vegetables I actually don't mind frozen. I don't know what happens, but I like what happens to a pea when it ends up frozen. So this is nothing more than a little bit of a spiced up with vegetable broth and thyme and lemon herb seasoning. Dill, dill and basil, my two favorite foods. And of course with the peas. And I think I forgot to mention onions, but yeah, it's called peas and onions, so you might guess that. I just make some tasty peas. So that is our dinner for tonight. And I will leave you, which I probably often will, with a tiny moment by the bay. today. This one celebrates the fact that we have vivid robin's egg blue skies today. We're on the other side of the storms. Everything's settling down, and there's nothing more beautiful than wintertime trees against a bright blue sky. Well, unless it's budding and dainty neon green trees against a bright blue sky, or those vivid bursts of autumn colors in trees against the bright blue sky. You get my point. Celebrating right now the beautiful starkness of winter.